Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a truly legendary wine region, Valpolicella.
Mhm.
We're talking northeast Italy, just inland from Lake Garda, north of Verona. Beautiful area.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
And the wine history there is just incredible.
right. And it's not just about the wine, is it? It's this whole mix of history, culture,
Mhm.
the land itself, passion. It's shaped everything, even the economy.
It really has. I mean, winemaking there goes way back Roman times even. It's fundamental to their identity,
Yeah.
part of the culture.
Exactly. So that's what we're exploring today. We want to really get under the skin of Valpolicella.
Yeah, understand what makes it tick.
And look at the history, the terroir, soil, climate, all that, the
Yeah.
grapes too, the native ones, and the winemaking,
Yeah.
especially that Appassimento technique.
That's the big one, the grape drying.
Definitely. And we'll cover the classifications, the DOCs and DOCGs, what the wines actually taste like, and well, why people love visiting, get the full picture.
And its uniqueness really boils down to sort of three key things.
Okay.
You've got the super diverse terroir, the native grapes that are just perfectly suited to that place, and then, yeah, the mastery of Appassimento.
So that three-legged stool you mentioned.
That's the one. It really sets it apart.
Okay, history then. You said ancient, like Roman ancient.
Oh, yeah. Deep, deep roots. The Romans definitely saw the potential there. We found evidence of early winemaking.
Wow.
And there's this interesting theory about a wine called Assonatico, possibly an ancestor to Ricciotto.
Appassimento. Okay.
And what's really fascinating, there are signs the Romans were already doing some kind of grape drying.
No way. So Appassimento might go back that far. The basic idea, anyway.
The seeds of it, perhaps. It's pretty amazing to think about.
That really is. So, okay, jumping ahead. Middle Ages, Renaissance. Did winemaking keep developing?
It did. Practices got more established, and the wines gained quite a reputation. They were popular with the nobility, the clergy, which tells you something about the quality.
Right, a sign of prestige.
Yeah.
And then Appassimento.
Right.
How did that become the defining thing?
Well, that really evolved over time. It was gradual, this refinement of drying the grapes after harvest in these special lofts to frutai. It became their signature because drying concentrates everything, sugars, acids, tannins, those crucial aromas.
So you get these really structured, complex wines.
Exactly. Wines built to last, like Amarone and Ricciotto. It's not just a technique, it's, this deeply ingrained tradition. An art form, really.
Passed down for generations. So moving into more modern times, phylloxera must have hit them hard in the late 1800s.
Oh, absolutely. Like everywhere in Europe,
Yeah.
big setback. Recovery meant replanting, grafting onto resistant American rootstock, the usual story.
Right.
Then, fast forward to the 20th century, and you get the, well, almost accidental birth of Amarone.
Accidental. How so?
The story goes, a winemaker basically forgot about a cask of Ricciotto, which is meant to stay sweet,
Uh-huh.
but it fermented completely dry.
Right.
And instead of being a disaster, it was, well, amazing. They called it Amarone, meaning the great bitter. Well, it's not really bitter, just dry.
A happy accident that created a legend. Love that. And since then, what's the focus been?
Quality. Definitely a relentless pursuit of quality.
Yep.
Big investments in vineyards, better technology in the winery, lots of research.
Makes sense.
Of course, they face challenges now. Global competition is fierce. Climate change is a huge factor.
Yeah, that impacts everything.
It does.
Yeah.
But Valpolicella is resilient. They respect tradition, but they're also innovating smartly. More professionalism, more focus on specific vineyard sites, expressing that micro-terroir.
Wait, terroir, you keep mentioning it. Let's really dig in. Where exactly are we, and how does the geography shape the wines?
Okay, so picture it. You've got the Adige River to the east, the Lessini Mountains up north, acting as a sort of shield,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Lake Garda nearby. That lake is huge for the climate. It acts like a giant thermostat.
Ah, moderating the temperature.
Exactly. Keeps things milder, creates breezes, really important for ripening those native grapes nice and slowly, and crucial for the Appassimento drying process, too. The mountains also block harsh northern winds and affect rainfall.
And the landscape itself, all those rolling hills?
Classic Italian vineyard country. Lots of hills, often quite steep slopes.
Which means good sun exposure, I guess.
Perfect sun exposure south, southeast, southwest facing mostly. Plus, great natural drainage, keeps the vine's feet dry, helps concentrate the flavors in the grapes.
Makes sense.
And altitude plays a big role, too. Higher vineyards get bigger swings between day and night temperatures.
The diurnal range.
Right. That helps grapes hold on to their acidity, develops fresher aromas. So even vineyards quite close together can give you different results just based on how high up they are.
Fascinating. So much variation. Now let's talk soil. You said it's diverse.
Incredibly diverse. The geology underneath is really complex, a real patchwork. Up higher, in the classic zone especially, you find a lot of calcareous soils, rocky stuff.
Limestone based?
Yeah, from old marine deposits, lots of calcium carbonate, not much organic matter, drains really well.
And that gives you what kind of wine?
Generally, more elegance, think minerality, bright acidity, finer tannins, wines that can age really well.
Okay. And lower down, like in Valpolicella.
There you tend to find more clay, maybe some basalt, volcanic rock. These soils hold water and nutrients better.
So richer wines.
Often, yeah. More structure, fuller body, deeper color, maybe firmer tannins that soften over time. And those volcanic soils, the basalt, they can add this really distinct mineral edge, like wet stone, graphite sometimes. Adds aromatic depth.
So the same grapes can taste totally different depending on the dirt they grow in.
Exactly. That's why you're seeing more single vineyard bottlings now. Producers really want to showcase that specific plot of land, that unique terroir expression.
Right. Okay, let's meet the stars of the grapes. Corvina is the big one, right?
Corvina is the heart and soul, the noble grape they call it. Usually makes up 45 to 95% of the blend.
Wow, that's a big range.
It is. It's relatively thin-skinned, ripens mid to late season, gives you that lovely, vibrant acidity. The cherry aromas, fresh cherry, it's sometimes richer, like Marasca or Amarena cherry. Floral notes, too, often violets. And when it goes through Appassimento, those aromas get super concentrated. Think black cherry jam, dried fruit, sweet spice. It brings body, soft tannins, elegance, and helps the wine age. Usually the main player percentage-wise.
Okay, who are the supporting actors?
Well, there's Rondinella, more of a workhorse grape, maybe a bit rustic, gives good yields, has thicker skin.
What does it contribute mainly?
Deep color, definitely, and reliable tannins, good structure. Aromatically, it's simpler, maybe some subtle herbal notes, general floral hints, usually around 5 to 30%, adds backbone.
Got it. And Molinara, I hear it's used less now?
Yeah, its role has decreased, still allowed up to 10% maybe. Thin skin, big bunches. It adds acidity, which is good for freshness, and sometimes this interesting salty or spicy note. But less color, fewer polyphenols. So for the really premium wines like Amarone, where you want intensity, it's often left out or used very sparingly.
Okay. And what about Corvinone? Sounds like Corvina.
It's genetically very close, but bigger bunches, bigger berries, ripens a bit later. It's become really important, actually.
Especially for
Amarone and Ripasso. It adds a lot of color depth, serious tannic structure, and aromatic intensity, particularly when dried. Many see it as a step up from, or a great partner to, Rondinella.
So it can substitute for Corvina sometimes.
Yeah, regulations allow it up to 50% of the blend, and it can replace Corvina for up to half of that main Corvinone portion. So potentially quite significant.
Interesting. Any other minor players we should know?
There's Oceleta, allowed up to 10%. It's an old native grape they rediscovered. Power, intense tannins, deep color, real structure, used in small amounts, usually in Amarone, to add complexity, backbone, and boost aging potential. A little goes a long way.
So it really is about the blend, isn't it? Getting that perfect combination.
Absolutely fundamental. Blending is how they achieve that classic Valpolicella character. Balance, complexity, different styles. You couldn't do it with just one grape. The rules set the percentages, yeah, but the winemaker still has room to play, to express the vintage, their own style. It's a real art.
Okay, we've got the place, we've got the grapes. Let's head into the vineyard and the winery. How are these wines actually made? Starting with managing the vines, especially for those Appassimento grapes.
Quality focus is key right from the start. You often see the traditional pergola Veronese system.
That high, flat canopy thing?
Exactly. It gives some shade, good air circulation, ideal for grapes meant for drying. Means you have to hand harvest, though.
Right. Versus modern systems.
You also see Guigou training, better for controlling yield, maybe gets more sun on the grapes not being dried, allows higher density planting. But either way, careful pruning is essential. Limit the yield, concentrate the flavor in the remaining grapes.
In harvest, strict selection.
Very strict, especially for Appassimento. Manual harvest, late September, early October usually. Only perfect bunches make the cut healthy, fully ripe, no broken skins.
Then comes Appassimento. Walk us through that drying process again. It sounds so crucial.
It is the defining step for Amarone and Recioto. Those selected bunches go into the frutai, those ventilated lofts or rooms.
On racks.
On racks, traditionally bamboo or L, now often plastic, or sometimes hung up. And they just sit there, drying slowly, 3-4 months usually, autumn into winter.
And they lose a lot of water.
A lot.
Yeah.
Maybe 30-40%.
Yeah.
So everything left gets super concentrated, sugars almost double, acids concentrate, tannins, color compounds, the polyphenols really intensify. Same with the flavor compounds, dried fruit, spice notes develop.
Must be tricky managing that, avoiding rot.
Crucial. Airflow and humidity control are vital.
And
Going to prevent bad mold. Interestingly, sometimes a little bit of noble rot, Botrytis cinerea, is actually encouraged, especially for Recioto. Adds complexity, honeyed notes.
Ah, like in sauternes.
Similar idea, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes real skill, experience, constant checking.
Okay, so after months of drying, grapes are concentrated. What next? How do the winemaking paths split?
Right, depends on the target wine. For your basic Valpolicella DOC, Classica, Valpitana, fresh grapes are destemmed, crushed. Fermentation in steel or concrete. Fairly cool, maybe 20-25 degrees C to keep the fruit bright. Short maceration, 5-10 days for color and light tannins. Then usually aged briefly in tanks, maybe large neutral oak, body, sometimes. Keep it fresh and fruity.
Straightforward enough. Now the big one, Amarone.
Okay, Amarone starts with those dried Passito grapes. You crush them. But fermentation is tough work for the yeast because the sugar is so high.
Right, takes longer.
Much longer, 20, 30, 40, even 50 plus days sometimes. Needs careful temperature control, 15-25 degrees C maybe, to extract tannins gently, develop those rich aromas without getting harsh.
And it ferments completely dry.
Completely dry, that's the definition. High alcohol, 15% plus is common. Very low residual sugar, intense flavors from the drying. Malolactic fermentation usually happens too, softens the acidity.
And aging, mandatory, right?
Oh yeah, minimum 2 years, starting January 1st after harvest. 4 years for Reserva. Traditionally aged in big Slavonian oak body, lets the wine breathe slowly. Modern styles might use smaller French barriques for more oak, spice, vanilla notes. The aging choices really shape the final wine.
And what about the sweet Recioto? How does that differ from Amarone making?
Starts the same way dried grapes, but the key difference is stopping the fermentation early.
How do they do that?
Usually by chilling the wine way down or adding sulfur dioxide. Kills off the yeast before all the sugar is gone, so you're left with that natural sweetness.
Resulting in a rich dessert wine.
Exactly. Concentrated, aromatic, sweet, but with good acidity to balance it. Aging is usually shorter than Amarone, often in steel to keep it fresh, or maybe small oak for a bit of complexity.
And then there's Ripasso, that repassing thing. Explain that again.
Right, Ripasso DOC. You take a young Valpolicella wine and you repass it, run it over the leftover pomace, the skins and seeds, for making Amarone or Recioto.
Which still has some sugar and yeast.
Exactly. It kicks off a second, shorter fermentation, maybe 10-15 days.
And that does what to the wine?
It adds stuffing. More body, deeper color, more tannins, more complex aromas, dark cherry, dried fruit, spice, maybe chocolate or coffee notes. It basically bumps up the Valpolicella into a richer middle-tier style.
Needs aging too?
Yep, minimum 1 year.
Wow. It sounds like the winemaker has so many decisions to make. They're really sculpting the final wine.
Absolutely. Central role. From picking the right grapes at the right time to managing the drying and the frutallo, deciding how long based on the year and the style. Then in the cellar, choosing yeasts, controlling fermentation temps, timing the ripasso, picking the right barrels for aging, how long.
Cute.
Yeah. It takes deep knowledge of the land, the grapes, a clear vision. That's how you get wines with real identity, reflecting both the region and the producer.
Okay, we've touched on DOC and DOCG. Let's clarify those Italian classifications, especially for Valpolicella. How do they work?
Sure. So DOC and DOCG are basically Italy's quality control system for wine. Denominazione di origine controllata, and the G adds garantita, guaranteed.
Seals of approval.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They guarantee where the wine comes from, that is made according to specific local rules and traditions. They define the production zone, the grapes allowed, how they're grown, how the wine's made, aging requirements.
Yeah.
Ensures a certain quality standard.
So for us drinkers, it's a guide to authenticity.
Exactly. If you see DOC or DOCG, you know you're getting a genuine wine from that region, made the way it's supposed to be made there.
Okay, let's run through the Valpolicella ones, maybe starting with the most basic.
Right. The entry level is Valpolicella DOC, broadest area geographically, made from fresh grapes, no Appassimento.
Blend rules.
Corvina and or Corvinone are the main part, 45-95%, with at least 45% being Corvina itself. Rondinella 5-30%. Molinara allowed up to 10%. And then small amounts of other local red grapes are permitted, up to 15% total. Minimum 11% alcohol.
And the style?
Light, fresh, fruity red berries, good acidity, meant for drinking young.
Then there's Valpolicella Classica DOC. What's Classica?
Classica means it comes from the historic heartland of the region, specific villages. Fumaine, Murano, Negrar, Sant'Ambrogio, San Pietro, and Cariano.
The original zone.
Exactly. The grape blend rules are the same as the basic DOC, but the terroir here, often more limestone, steeper slopes, usually gives wines with a bit more complexity, structure, minerality, maybe better aging potential too.
Okay. And Valpolicella Valpentana DOC.
That recognizes a specific valley, Valpentana, east of the Classica zone. Again, same blend rules. The label will say Valpentana. Soils here might have more clay or basalt, giving a slightly different profile. Often bright, youthful fruit, maybe a hint of saltiness.
Got it. Now moving up to wines using Appassimento, Ripasso, next.
Valpolicella Ripasso DOC. This protects that unique repassing method. You take Valpolicella DOC or Classica, re-ferment it on Amarone or Risuto Pomace.
Adds complexity.
Right. More body color, tannin, those darker fruit and spice notes. It's that step up from basic Valpolicella. Minimum 12.5% alcohol, needs at least a year at aging.
And then the top tier for dry reds, Amarone.
Amarone della Valpolicella DOCG, highest level. Made only from Appassimento grapes. Blend rules are similar to the others. Corvina Corvinone, 45, 95%. Min, 45%. Corvina, Rondinella, 530%. Molinara, up to 10%. Other reds up to 25% total now.
Higher alcohol minimum.
Yep, minimum 14%, but often 15, 16% or even more. And that mandatory aging, 2 years minimum, 4 for Reserva.
The style we discussed, powerful, concentrated.
Intense dried fruit, spice, chocolate, tobacco, full-bodied, structured, long finish, a serious wine.
And the sweet counterpart, Ricciotto.
Ricciotto della Valpolicella DOCG, also the highest level, but for sweet wine. Same dried grapes, same blend rules as Amarone. But fermentation is stopped early to keep the natural grape sugar.
So sweet, but balanced.
Beautifully balanced, usually. Rich sweetness, but good acidity keeps it from being cloying. Minimum 12% alcohol, but that includes the potential alcohol from the sugar. Intense aromas, stewed fruit, fig, spice, maybe honey notes.
Wow, these rules sound pretty comprehensive. More than just grapes and aging.
Oh yeah. They cover vine density, training systems, winemaking details, maximum yields per hectare.
Yield limits are key for concentration, right?
Absolutely. And defining the zones helps protect that terroir identity. It's all about guaranteeing authenticity for the consumer, protecting the region's reputation, ensuring quality up and down the line.
Okay, we've covered the how and the why. Let's get to the really fun part. What do they taste like? Describe a typical basic Valpolicella.
Okay, pour a Valpolicella DOC or Classica. You'll see bright ruby red. Smell it. Fresh red fruits pop out: cherry, raspberry, maybe strawberry. Sometimes a little floral violet note, maybe a hint of green herbs.
And on the palate?
Dry, definitely. Refreshing acidity is key. Tannins are light, structure is delicate, finish is clean and fruity, very drinkable. The Classica might just have a little more substance, maybe that mineral edge.
Now, how does Ripasso compare?
Ripasso steps things up. Deeper ruby color, maybe starting to show some garnet hints if it has a bit of age. The nose is richer. Still fruit, but darker cherry, maybe some dried plum or raisin notes start coming through. Plus those spice notes, cinnamon, clove, maybe hints of tobacco or cocoa.
And taste. More structure.
Definitely more structured.
Yeah.
Tannins are more noticeable, but should feel smooth, integrated. So that's good balancing acidity. Flavors echo the nose, that richer fruit, the spice. The finish is longer, more complex than the basic Valpolicella.
Okay, now for the main event, Amarone. What's that sensory explosion like?
Amarone is,
Yeah.
well, it's intense. Deep ruby to garnet color. The nose is complex, takes time to unfold. You get powerful dried dark fruits, black cherry liqueur, dried fig, plum, then layers of other things. Dark chocolate, coffee, tobacco, leather, exotic spices like licorice, maybe even balsamic notes.
Wow, and the taste, is it sweet because of the dried fruit smell?
That's a common perception, but no, it's technically dry. Very low sugar. But the sheer concentration of fruit gives an impression of richness, almost sweetness. It feels full, weighty, opulent on the palate. Alcohol warmth is there. Tannins are significant but should be ripe and elegant, not harsh. Acidity provides balance. The flavors just mirror that complex nose and the finish. It goes on and on. Huge aging potential, too.
Amazing. And the sweet Ricciotto, what delights await there?
Ricciotto is gorgeous. Dark ruby, maybe purplish. The nose is super aromatic, really inviting. Stewed cherries, dried figs, dates, chocolate, sweet spices like nutmeg and cinnamon. If there was some noble rye, you might get honey or caramel notes.
And the taste. Sweet, obviously, but...
Sweet, yes, but that vibrant acidity is crucial. It cuts through the richness, keeps it balanced and elegant, not sickly sweet. Texture is often quite silky. Concentrated dried fruit and spice flavors linger. A really delicious, complex dessert wine.
Mouth-watering stuff. Okay, practical application, food pairings. What goes well with these wines?
They're surprisingly versatile. That fresh Valpolicella Classico, great with lighter things. Antipasti cured meats, young cheese, simple pasta with tomato sauce, veggie dishes, risotto Milanese, pizza if the toppings aren't too heavy, grilled chicken, turkey, even some fish. Serve it slightly cool, maybe 14, 16 Celsius.
Okay, ripasso needs something richer.
Yeah, ripasso handles more robust flavors. Pasta with meat sauce like a good bolognese. Mushroom risotto, grilled steak or lamb chops, hearty stews, medium-aged cheeses, pecorino, asiago.
And Amarone! Bring out the big guns.
Definitely. Amarone loves rich, flavorful dishes. Game meats, wild boar, venison. Slow braised meats like ossobuco or beef braised and Amarone itself is classic. Rich roast with complex sauces. Aged hard cheeses, Parmigiano Reggiano, aged pecorino, Montevernese. Truffles, or honestly just sip it slowly on its own after dinner. A meditation wine.
Meditation wine. And risotto, dessert pairings.
Classic with chocolate, especially dark chocolate desserts. Red fruit tarts or pies. Rich fruitcake like the local Spritzelona. And it's fantastic with blue cheese, gorgonzola, Stilton. That sweet, salty contrast is amazing.
Great suggestions. Any quick tasting tips for listeners exploring these?
Temperature is important, as we said. Cool for basic Valpolicella, slightly warmer, maybe
Right.
16, 18C. For Ripasso and Amarone, use a decent-sized glass, especially for Amarone, let those aromas open up.
Decant Amarone.
Older ones, yeah, maybe for an hour or two. Helps it breathe, softens tannins, separates sediment. And just take your time. Look at the color, really smell it. Primary fruit. Secondary fermentation notes, tertiary age notes. Then taste, feel the texture, acidity, tannins, body, how long the flavor lasts.
Good advice. For people wanting to try some, any producer names they should look out for.
Oh, there are so many great ones, some classics. Allegrini's fantastic, known for Amarone and their Palazzo della Torre. Quintarelli's legendary, very traditional, complex wines. Dal Forno Romano makes incredibly powerful, sought-after stuff.
More accessible names, too.
Sure. Masi is a big name, really helped popularize Ripasso. Tomasi, Bertani, their Amarone Classico is iconic. Zanata makes excellent wines, Tedeschi, Sperry, Bricaldara. Lots of great family producers, too. Best advice, try wines from different producers to really see the range of styles.
And understand the producer's style helps, right? Single vineyards.
Absolutely. Knowing if a producer aims for a more traditional or modern style or focusing on a specific vineyard, it adds another layer to your appreciation. And exploring the difference between, say, an intense Classico zone wine versus a more elegant Valpantino wine. That's part of the fun for wine lovers.
This deep dive has been fantastic. I feel like I could almost taste them. For anyone inspired to actually go there, what's the wine tourism scene like?
Oh, visiting Valpolicella is wonderful. It's not just tasting rooms, it's the whole atmosphere. The landscapes, the history, meeting the people making the wine.
Winery visits are easy to arrange.
Yeah, there's a huge range from historic estates to small family places. Many offer tours, vineyards, cellars. You might even see the frutai where the grapes dry. Tastings are key, obviously. You learn about the styles, production, get food pairing ideas. Some offer full meals, even cooking classes. A real immersion.
And beyond the wineries, what else is there to see and do?
The landscape itself is beautiful rolling hills, vineyards, olive groves, cypress trees, great for walking or cycling. There's history, too. Roman villas, old churches, castles, and you're right next door to Verona.
Ah, the city of Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly. The arena, Juliet's balcony, the whole historic center is a UNESCO site. Easy to combine a city break with wine touring.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Any practical tips for planning a trip?
Definitely book winery visits ahead, especially in busy seasons like spring or fall.
Best times to go.
Spring is lovely, everything's green. Fall is harvest time. You might see the Appassimento starting. Both great. Lots of accommodation, from fancy hotels to charming farm stays, agriturismos. A car gives you flexibility, but taxis and tours are options too. It's just a fantastic sensory experience, connecting with the land and the winemaking tradition.
It sounds idyllic, but like any region, Valpolicella must face challenges. What are the big issues they're dealing with now, and what's the outlook?
Yeah, there are definitely challenges. Climate change is a big one. Hotter temperatures, weird rainfall. It affects how the grapes ripen, and it makes that delicate Appassimento drying process trickier.
So they need to adapt.
Constantly. Researching grape varieties that handle heat better, tweaking vineyard techniques, refining how they manage the drying process. Then there's global competition. Lots of great wine out there.
So they need to keep telling their unique story.
Exactly. Communicate what makes Valpolicella, especially Amarone, special, the history, the method, the quality. And consumer tastes change, you know. There's a trend towards lighter wines.
Does that threaten Amarone?
It's a challenge, but also an opportunity. Maybe showcase the fresher Valpolicella styles more. Explore slightly lighter interpretations of Amarone, maybe. Show the region's versatility.
And sustainability, is that becoming more important?
Hugely important. For the long term, it's critical. More organic farming, biodynamics, better water management, conserving the soil. Preserving those old stone terraces, the Marone and the historic frutai, is part of that heritage preservation too.
Research plays a role.
Big time. Understanding the different terroirs even better. Finding ways to make Appassimento more efficient and reliable. Keeping the character of the native grapes. Finding greener practices.
Yeah.
It all helps drive quality and sustainability.
So the future looks like a balancing act.
I think so. Balancing that incredible tradition with necessary innovation. Amarone gives them a strong identity globally. But the commitment to quality across all the styles, the focus on terroir, the move towards sustainability, those are the keys to keeping Valpolicella relevant and successful.
It really is a remarkable place. Tradition, land, human skill, all coming together in the glass.
It truly is a testament to resilience, diversity, artistry. From that fresh, vibrant Valpolicella right up to the complexity of Amarone or Isiotto, every style tells a part of that story, the history, the landscape, the passion of the producers.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main thing you hope listeners take away about Valpolicella?
I guess just be curious. Explore the nuances. Remember, each bottle holds a piece of that history, that place, that passion. It's more than just a drink. It's an invitation to experience the culture, the landscape, the flavors of a region where wine is just central to life.
A fantastic summary, and maybe one last thing for everyone to think about. In our fast-changing world, how will Valpolicella continue that dance between preserving its unique heritage and embracing the future of wine? That balance feels like it will be the defining story for this incredible Italian region going forward. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until our next exploration.